and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we get to talk to super smart people all over the world and ask them to simplify one thing, either in business or in life. And my friends, today is a very, very important topic that we're going to cover, and I'm talking to a super smart lady. Her name is Kim Sutton, and although she started her career as an interior architect working in super large firms in Chicago, New York City, Connecticut, and Ohio, the downturn of the economy in 2008 allowed Kim to find herself and discover her true life passions and purpose. She's the host of the Positive Productivity Podcast, say that 5 times fast, and the author of the forthcoming book, Chronic Idea Disorder, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Overcoming Idea Overwhelm. In addition, Kim is a marketing, automation, and business systems expert. She works with 6- and 7-figure business coaches. Now, she lives out in Ohio with her husband, Dave, and their 5 children, and 5 to 8 cats. We're not sure.
A lot of cats.
A lot of cats and a dog. And in her free time, she enjoys reading, knitting, and playing video games with her family. I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Kim Sutton. Hello, Kim.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Kim, it's so great to have you here because I really want to talk to you about something incredibly important that I think a lot of our listeners struggle with. And it's this: how do you avoid the yes trap in life? And what I want to talk to you about is something that you speak on stages about, calling Be the Bonsai. 3 techniques for running your life so it doesn't run you. So everybody that's listening right now and going, oh my God, the yes trap is legit and real. Tell me more about what you mean by that. Be the Bonsai.
Be the Bonsai came about in, I have to think about it. Well, I'll just tell you, I had twins in 2015. Mm-hmm. And they were unexpected. And my oldest children are teenagers. So for the first time, we all actually got to go to a soccer game for one of my older children. And on the way there, a client of mine sent me a whole bunch of messages asking me if I could build out a launch for her that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just make that happen, right?
Just make it happen. I was like, well, actually, no, I'm on my way to a soccer game for my son.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've been out as a family since the twins were born. And she's like, well, I'm sure you have your laptop and there's got to be a McDonald's nearby with Wi-Fi. Just go over there and do it.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind because up until that point, I had actually been saying yes to just about everything she needed, everything everybody needed except for me. Mm-hmm. And so I was venting to my husband a little bit on the way home. And in true Mr. Miyagi style, Karate Kid, he says, be the bonsai, baby. He's like, cut off the weaker branches to let the strong grow.
Yeah.
And immediately it clicked. I told him, I'm borrowing that. He's like, you have my full permission. Mm-hmm. So I cut it off. She wasn't my client for too much longer because it wasn't just that time. I realized this happens way too much.
Oh my gosh.
And I was doing it in everything else in my house. Mm-hmm. In my house, in my business as well.
Mm-hmm. And, I think that that's the case. So all our listeners are female creative entrepreneurs. Some of them are solopreneurs. So it's me, myself, and I that runs the whole business, right? For those graphic designers out there, those virtual assistants, those bookkeepers, right? But then the ones that have, maybe a couple of virtual assistants or just fledgling and just starting, it's hard because you find yourself saying yes to everything. That's what the status quo wants you to believe, right? So now you're saying yes is bad. Tell me more about what you mean.
Well, as I said, the twins had just been born, and I would love to say that letting go of that client was the end of me saying yes to everybody, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So they were born in early 2015. For the year and a half following that, when they were born, I was sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night because I was working on everybody else's stuff. I hadn't even started my podcast. I wasn't working on my book. I wasn't building my own brand, but I was taking on so much of other people's stuff, building their business instead of my own, that I was overcommitting. And I think that is such a huge trap that we fall into. We get afraid of telling people no. And we're like, yes, I can do that today, even though we've already scheduled 48 hours into this what should really be an 8-hour, but I will be totally transparent. I don't work 8 hours. I love what I do, but I do get 8 hours of sleep now.
Yeah.
So after 18 months of that, Mary went by, and I got to a point where I was so severely anxious and depressed, and I love my husband and my children and most of my life madly. There's cats that get in the way when I'm podcasting sometimes.
Yeah.
But I was contemplating killing myself. So laying in bed, wondering how I was going to do it. And yeah.
It's, and I would dare say that there are people listening right now that have felt those exact same feelings. And I want to say, in this day and age, this year of 2018, at the time of taping this podcast episode, it just feels like the anxiety levels of people are rising, right? Because there's so much noise in our everyday life that literally even definitely 5, but 100% 10 years ago was not there in our life, whether it's with social media or just this expectation of immediate gratification from our clients, from everywhere, right?
Right.
We live in the Amazon Prime world where I can click a button and something comes to my door in an hour, right? That it's just not healthy, right? And
it's not.
So we have to, as humans, because we're not robots, we have to adjust, or we are going to hit that breaking point of suicide, depression, anxiety, and all that.
Absolutely.
And can we just pause and say, hang on, you just said that you were spending only 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, like that?
Yeah.
Whoa, that blows my mind, because I don't think I could function on 2 to 3 hours of sleep.
And I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I do detailed work. I'm an Infusionsoft certified partner. I don't mean to be throwing in a pitch there, but this is not simple work.
Yeah.
But work that should have been taking me 2 to 3 hours was taking me 8 hours because I was in constant brain fog.
Yeah.
And with that lack of sleep, you're trying to do A through Z at one time because you can't focus when you should just be working on A. Get A done. It will take you this much time. But when it's not just sleep deprivation, but multitasking, it's going to quadruple how long it takes you to do what should be a simple task. We can look at our children if we have children. I mean, my 15-year-old needs to do the dishes, okay? When he's doing the dishes and playing on his phone, trying to find the next song he wants to, dishes seriously take 3 times longer than they should.
Right. Yeah.
And the same is true in the rest of our life.
Yeah. Well, multitasking is a myth. It's not real. It doesn't actually make you more productive. There is some truth in laser focusing in on the one thing, not having 80 billion tabs open on your computer. Like, just focus on the one thing at a time, do it well, and then move on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So I can definitely vouch, like, Girl Scout honor here. Sleep deprivation is legit. I have 2 children myself, and for me, I certainly struggled with postpartum depression with my firstborn, of just like the first 3 to 6 months after she was born, of just not sleeping well, struggling with just keeping, clarity and keeping I don't know how to explain it. Like, just your head above water. You're just not yourself. Do you think that anyone that's listening that is, got newborns at home, but also trying to juggle their business, what would you suggest to them of how to really be gentle to themselves as well as, keep their business afloat?
I'm going to borrow that quote we've all heard before. Rome wasn't built in a day. Our children aren't going to grow up in a day, but they're going to grow up a lot faster, it feels like, when we're not paying attention. I can't tell you when my twins rolled over for the first time, or when they stood up for the first time, or when they said their first words, or what they even were, because I was sleep deprived and saying yes to everything else.
Yeah.
So, and that's painful to me because I remember those things specifically, like for my other 3, and that's painful. Don't do the same. And what I've realized now is we need to ask for help. I mean, I got tired of looking at the jungle in my backyard because my husband works full time. he can't do everything. So I hired a lawn service to come in once a week and mow the lawn. But why don't we do the same for ourselves?
Yeah. And I think that there is some level of, if I could unpack this, just my own thoughts, and I'm curious to hear yours as well. But I think in this day and age, there is this fear of asking for help because you're less than. Look at everybody else. They seem to have perfect lives on Instagram. Why should I ask for help? And, because shouldn't I be looking perfect and, making a double espresso and, and everything's picture perfect. But we struggle sometimes to ask for help because we think it's a sign of weakness or less than or whatever, right?
I think it's a sign of true strength.
Yeah.
And there's another quote that says something like, rich people spend money to save time and poor people spend time to save money. And I have been there. We've had our disconnect notices. We've had our eviction threats, and I found myself in the trap of trying to do everything myself to save a penny. But it costs a lot more in the long run to do that.
No, without a doubt. And I think the secret there is asking for help. And so the very first technique for being the bonsai, running your life so it doesn't run you, is how to avoid the yes trap. So can you give us some practical, simple tips of how to avoid the yes trap?
What I found for myself, number one, is it had to be in alignment with me in my heart.
What you were saying yes to.
Yeah. Yes. What I was saying yes to. And if it wasn't, then I really had to put it in a no bucket or in a not now. But stop saying not now or maybe, because I know with my kids, if I say maybe, they're going to be back in 2 seconds, in 10 seconds, in 30 seconds, and just keep on bugging me. So how about just no?
Yeah.
No. And there's so many great mentors out there who even have books or blog articles about what to say along with a no. And it doesn't need to be rude when we say no. We can say, my schedule's really full right now, and I think it's a great opportunity, but right now I just can't handle one more thing. And even for our clients, they are going to appreciate it so much more if we tell them, I can help you with that, but it's going to take 4 days because I'll get to it in 4 days. I'll put it in my schedule then, because let me tell you, it does so much better if you tell them you have time for it in 4 days rather than I'm going to give it to you today. And then, oh my gosh, you didn't complete it. And now the client's wondering what happened. And I've done this so many times during the yes trap. And then I look unprofessional because I didn't meet the deadline that I promised.
And it's chipping away at the trust factor of your relationship from client to partner, or client to consultant, is that if you don't hit a deadline, then, they're going, ooh, I don't know about this Kim. Is she going to be able to come through next time or the next time after that?
Right.
Yeah. I also think that when people approach me about an opportunity and I just can't take it on, then, one of my secrets that I've learned is by just simply saying, thank you so much for thinking of me. I am so honored. I mean, genuinely honored that you would think of me for this board position, this volunteer role, this whatever it is that I'm saying no to. And just acknowledge and just say thank you. And then say, you know what, at this point in my career, in my life, or whatever, it's not a match for where I'm at. But thank you again, or refer them to somebody else and say, hey, actually, I know this gal, Kim, and she is incredible at this, this, and this. Maybe she would be a match instead. Or, just being able to give somebody the next step of saying thank you, but no thank you, right?
Right. Right.
So the second technique to be the bonsai, you say, is cutting off the weakest branches so the stronger ones grow. What does that mean to you?
So let's just use that client that I was talking about before as an example. It was taking up so much energy trying to constantly please her. She wasn't in alignment with me. And we find this in so many areas of our life. We find it with friends who are downers. I'm not saying don't be their friend anymore.
Yeah.
But oftentimes the people and the opportunities, just like you were saying, the opportunities that aren't right for us right now, they can take up so much energy that the nourishment isn't getting to the stronger parts of our life. It's not getting to the stronger part of our business, or it's not getting to the part of our business that we really want to grow. We're spending time with drama sucking friends or energy sucking friends rather than with our really amazing friends or our spouses or our children who really should have our time.
Right.
So in that example, maybe we don't cut them off, but we trim them back quite a bit. But there are so many things that we do that we just need to cut off so that we can let the rest thrive. And if I can give one more example, I was saying yes to everything just because I was in scarcity mode. I was afraid that if I said no to this opportunity, that my bank account would be empty tomorrow. But what I found, I found that what would happen is I wouldn't have time for the better opportunity when it came in because I had already overcommitted myself.
Yeah, and that is so true. So I use a scheduler with my calendar, and that's where people can book time into my calendar. But if you allow your calendar your scheduler, your little widget, to allow for your meetings to be back to back, you're literally setting yourself up for failure. And by saying what you're just saying is like, if you're not saying no to every single person that wants to meet up with you or a new vendor or whatever, then how are you going to be able to get in those really good meetings, those really, great opportunities that are aligned with what you want to accomplish? Because your calendar's already booked up with all the nonsense and extra stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking to a client of mine recently and just sort of taking a bit of an inventory with them of saying, okay, so if you had to guess how much time you spend on social media, either personally or professionally in any given day, how much would you say you did? And I was surprised to hear them say that, and I'll keep this confidential and anonymous and not out them, but that they would spend 3 hours on Instagram alone on a Monday and 1 hour every single day the rest of the week. That's just for one social media channel, not to mention all the other ones for it. And, made me kind of wonder, like, holy smokes, how much time do we actually spend on social media? These are clients, but then I also sort of took an assessment of myself. Like, I am no perfect person. I am certainly on the journey to becoming a true simplifier myself. And so do you know, Kim, this app called Moment? It's scary. I'll put the link in the show notes for everybody so you can also have a big wake-up call in your life. So Moment, you put it on your phone and it tracks how long you spend on any app or on your phone, how many times you pick up your phone in any given day. On my worst days, Kim, I spend 7 hours on my phone in one day, 40 pickups. Like, it's something shocking, like 30% of my waking life was on my phone. And I was like, oh dear, So you just think about the time you spend being busy and you think is going to equate to sales, cash in the bank, whatever. But reality, it's not, it is literally pretending to be busy or, is that also what you would consider a weak branch that maybe needs to get cut off?
Oh, absolutely. I actually spend on a bad day, I spend 1 to 2 hours on social media. I've turned off notifications on my phone for all social media, except for Facebook Messenger. I think I had to leave Facebook on because my husband refuses to text. He uses Facebook Messenger for some reason.
Yeah.
That's just his thing. It's just this thing. Yeah. And so that one is left on. But for the most part, I don't know where my phone is a lot of the time. But that's also because my children take it and hide it so they can watch YouTube.
Yeah.
I know, model mama there using electronic daycare, but positive productivity is not about perfection. It works for me.
Yeah. And so, I imagine also there's a bit of this that everybody's sort of going and nodding their heads going, oh my God, I am addicted to my phone. I am addicted to social media. So, practical tips on how to help people break that addiction. What do you think's really underneath all of this, deep, deep, deep down inside?
Fear of a missed opportunity. But let me tell you, if it's really the opportunity for you, it's going to be there when you look at the scheduled time. And what I've also found is that not being the first to respond lets the world know that you have a life. You have other clients that you are working on. You're not there waiting to be the first in line.
Yeah.
And unless it's a the next iPhone release and you need to be the first one, but you really don't need to be the first one.
Yeah. And I think that part of that is also kind of training your clients how you communicate,
Yes.
that you're not available at 10 o'clock at night for, if they ping you on your cell phone or anything like that, putting those healthy boundaries around how you operate. A girlfriend of mine, shared this many years ago, and it's always stuck with me, is that, she said, well, hey, Mary, if you called your doctor in a non-emergency situation at 9 o'clock at night and you didn't get her on the phone, you're not going to fire her, right? It's outside of office hours. Like if it's an emergency, you're going to call 911. But, if it's non-emergency and you try to call your doctor, it's not like you're going to go, oh, well, I'm getting a new doctor, right? There's no difference as a small business owner. If you're a graphic designer, a virtual assistant, or whatever, right? There is no difference. Would you agree?
Oh, I would absolutely agree. And you better believe that if you paged your doctor, I mean, I'm just thinking of, the OBGYN. If I page my doctor at 9 o'clock at night with a non-emergency, he would be telling me to go find a new doctor. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of reminding yourself that you don't need to be so available, right? 24/7 in this immediate gratification world. Like you can set the boundaries and that's okay, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other tips on how to cut off the weakest branches?
I actually have started using a great app called Focuster.
Okay.
And what it does is I have my it's linked to my calendar and I put my to-do list in there, and I've started actually telling it that, you have to assign a time for how long the task is going to take. I've started doubling every task. And then it takes it, because I've told it how much time it takes it and it puts it onto my calendar. It actually schedules it into the blank times or to the open times.
Yeah.
And that has allowed me to just start saying no, because even client work, I know that on a good day, that's going to take me 2 hours, but now I'm scheduling in 4 hours because distractions happen and I don't want to be, like we already talked about, I don't want to be at the end of the day. Why didn't you get it done, Kim?
Yeah. So
I didn't plan.
It sounds like to me with this app, you're able to kind of put in some buffer and room and some breathing space, because I think for us chronic overschedulers, as we are, we just back to back, we power through, we write, I'm going to do 80 billion things. I'm going to do all the things today. But like putting in that little buffer space, that breathing room helps kind of create that, I don't know, just a breath of fresh air or flow in your work life. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. And don't be afraid to do a pro-con list for any new opportunities that come your way.
Yeah. And just,
is this right for now? Yes, no. And one more thing. I have chronic idea disorder. That's why I'm writing the book.
Yeah. So tell us more what that means, chronic idea disorder.
Yeah, it was a phrase I coined probably 3 or 4 years ago. A never-ending stream of entrepreneurial ideas. And what I tended to do, and I have to say I still do it sometimes, I start working on a new idea that came in instead of finishing the last one that came in. And then I have 50,000 open ideas. None of them are making money because I haven't finished them. And even if I did finish them, like I thought of course ideas.
Yeah.
And I would build them out, launch them once, and then forget about them. But that's not the way to a sustainable business. So what we really have to do is look, anytime we get a new idea, is this the one that I should be working on now? What is it going to cost me if I'm not working on the other one? But what will I gain if I just finish working on what I already started?
And I also, to build on that, I think it's really valuable and worthy to ask yourself, where does this fit in my customer's journey with me, right? So if you've got like all these, because I'm a ideas person as well, like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. But really you have to stop and go, okay, where does this fit in the customer journey? Do they buy product A and then move to product B and then move to product C? Do we need another product C thing? I think that's a worthy question to ask.
Oh, absolutely. And look and see if you're working on this because you're chasing income
Yeah.
or if it's really in line with your soul.
Yeah, yeah. And that is the truth, right? I mean, I'm sure there are people nodding their head right now listening to this
Uh-huh.
going, "Oh, I'm so guilty as charged." Like we chase money instead of really going and saying, "Well, what does our client need? Where's their biggest problems and where can I truly serve and help them?" The money comes. The money comes when you keep your alignment to there first, right?
Oh, it absolutely does.
Mhm.
Does. It does.
Mhm.
um, so when I had that suicidal moment,
Yeah.
I was chasing income.
Mhm.
All the way I was chasing income, or else I wouldn't have been saying yes to everybody.
Yeah.
When I went through something big spiritually right then, and when I came out of it, I realized I need to be pursuing impact. I actually realized I needed to be helping people not do that to themselves.
Yeah.
The first month after that, by saying no to opportunities which weren't in line, my income quadrupled, and it blew my mind.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
for so long I had been saying yes to everybody else, thinking, okay, this is the way to grow my business, to grow my bank account,
Mhm.
to always have increased revenue.
Yeah.
But up until then, we were struggling.
Mhm.
There wasn't a month that went by where we didn't have a disconnect notice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of us, I mean, I certainly have been there too, where I can resonate to that. I just want to repeat what you just said that I think is so brilliant is to pursue impact, not income. And that is the truth. When you start thinking about how you and your business and how you offer what your zone of genius is out in the world, to think about how you can positively impact the world, the money comes. The money
Yeah.
comes, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I also know that you talk a lot about digging shallow holes with chronic idea disorder. What do you mean by that? Digging shallow holes?
So when I was idea hopping and never finishing anything, I equate it to digging shallow holes with plastic spoons. Whereas, as children, we were always trying to dig the hole to China or to the other side of the continent, wherever we live. What we need to do is seriously take out the backhoe and pretend that we're digging our project hole to the other side of the planet. Don't go wide, go deep.
Yeah.
Get in there. Find that one thing that you are super passionate about and stick with it. And I mean, I've stuck with the podcast now, and and projects and ideas don't take traction in a day. They might not get traction in a week or in a month or 6 months. But when you stick with it for a year and a half, and people start to know you for that, that's when it really gets good.
Yeah, because
So,
then they go, "Oh, Kim is the one that is my go-to expert on positive productivity." And then they start telling their friends, and then that
yeah,
spreads out like wildfire, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the secret there is really the bit you said of being consistent, showing up on a consistent basis with whatever it is your project is, podcasting, putting yourself on Facebook Live or whatever, sending handwritten letters. It doesn't have to be all social
hmm
media. But do it consistently and people will start to recognize your name to that thing that you do.
Absolutely. I mean, if I could take every idea that I abandoned after putting considerable energy into it, but never actually following through on it, I would have a graveyard of ideas in my backyard
Yeah.
with the plastic spoon coming out. Here lies
Right.
abandoned idea number 5012.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs are the same way because that's what we are, right? We're ideas people, but not a lot of us are finishers.
Yes.
And so being a finisher, that's the people. I mean, I've been in business for 15 years now. Like that's what gets you the traction of being, a long standing. This is not a sprint. This is, the long haul, and to get true success, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me more about positive productivity, what that means to you, the 3 tenets of that.
Positive productivity to me is about keeping our chin high when things are getting tough, when life is rough, lifting
Yeah.
up your chin. So that's the positive side. And then just keeping on moving forward.
Yeah.
I get a lot of references from Disney.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about figuring out how you can time every single thing in the day, because let's just be serious. The more we try to plan our day, sometimes the more wrenches are going to be thrown in. That's
Yeah.
when we get a sick kid, and that's when we get an unexpected phone call or a huge opportunity. But positive productivity is about making the most out of every moment and just moving forward. But the 3 pillars are self-care, systems, and support.
So what do you mean by support? Tell us about more of that.
Support can be our spouses or our children. Support can be team members.
Friends?
The friends, absolutely. Team members, coaches,
Yeah.
mentors,
Yeah.
accountability partners.
Your church?
Absolutely. Anybody out there who's not you.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it all. And I found myself in this little bubble here thinking, I can't let anybody know how I'm feeling. I didn't even let my husband know how I was feeling when I was anxious and depressed and sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't trust him, but because I didn't want to scare him. And I didn't realize that I needed his help more than anybody's.
Yeah.
He was devastated that, that I wouldn't have told him that.
Yeah.
So we need that community, even if it's just one person that we can open up and tell.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, the more people that you're transparent with and authentic with, even my team members, the more people I'm transparent and authentic with, the more support I have. And don't be afraid of being transparent and authentic in everything that you do.
Well, yeah. And I think that just reminder to everybody that's listening, this is not all yours to bear. Like, you are not meant to carry all things, and that it is okay to ask for help. And it is okay on a professional level, whether it's employees or virtual assistants or contractors or whatever, to give a little more to them, because sometimes people are just waiting for the opportunity to try something new or different or stretch themselves out of their comfort zone as well. And you might be a bit surprised at what they can actually accomplish. It might be cheaper and better and faster and, stronger than what you did on your side, just trying to carry it all, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then when you said systems as the third part of positive productivity, what do you mean by systems?
Systems can be so broad, but even finding a day of the week, systemizing our life, finding a day of the week that we're going to order our groceries so we don't have to spend 2 days in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Finding that systems that can run our business while we're sleeping, because there's so many great ones out there. Even the social media scheduling tools, finding that one tool that works for you that is constantly posting stuff for you so you don't need to be in there. Yes, you want to get in there engaged, but you don't need to be spending 7 hours a day posting your messages. You can even use scheduling tools, I believe, to post in other people's groups now. So
it's incredible.
Take it off your plate and systemize it.
Yeah. So tools that we use at the Simplifiers that help automate things or at least systemize things. So our go-to tools are Hootsuite for scheduling social media. We use Trello for project management. We use Google Drive to communicate and share documents back and forth with our teams, because we've got teams all over. We've got a team in Canada, we've got a team in the US and a team in the UK. And so we're multiple time zones, and we got to use some of these tools that help us communicate. And then we also use Slack as a way to, message back and forth and keep it all under control. And again, if you're just a me, myself, and I person, a solopreneur, that's okay. You still need some tools in place to systemize your stuff. Even more so, I dare say, because you cannot literally do it all by yourself. You will crash and burn. So you mentioned the third tenet of being the bonsai. Now, you said it's how to cultivate that life you actually want to live. Can you give us some tips on how we do that?
We need to start by taking care of ourselves. Going back to the self-care part of positive productivity.
Yeah. And what do you mean by taking care of yourself? So, there is yes, let's go get a pedicure. Yes, let's do this. But what do you think really works for people? Or is it different for everyone?
I do believe it's different for everybody, but everybody does need to sleep.
Yeah. First and foremost, sleep is really important.
I've had conversations with people who tell me they're just fine on 5 hours or just fine on 4 hours. No. Try it for a year and a half or 2 years consistently. Actually, don't. This is not a challenge.
Right. It's
not challenging.
Bad idea.
No.
Yeah.
Second thing, doctor's appointments. I know there are some of you who may be into holistic medicine, but even so, your health has to come above all else. If you're not taking care of your sleep, if you're not taking care of your health, then what the heck are you doing everything else for?
Yeah, true. Because
you won't be around to be there.
Yeah.
For everything.
Well, I'm not, I'm in my 40s now. And I was going to say I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm certainly not super old. But, I think as each decade goes on, I realize, this physical body doesn't quite bounce back as quick when I pull a late night work, shift, or, you really do have to take good care of who you are, your physical body.
Yeah. And we need to stop being so busy.
Yeah.
That we aren't listening.
Yeah.
I mean, there are days that I'm sitting here so engrossed in what I'm doing that I forget to eat, that I forget to use the restroom. That's not good.
Yeah.
Or I've canceled doctor's appointments because a client needed something.
Yeah.
And that's led to me being hospitalized. We can't do that. We're not going to do it for our kids. If they have a doctor's appointment, we're going to go to it. We're going to take them to the dentist and the eye doctor and to every other doctor on the face of the planet. But why don't we do it for ourselves?
Yeah.
You might, if you have the luxury of going to the spa or manicure, pedicure, by all means, schedule it in and make that a non-negotiable in your calendar. I gave my husband monthly dates for Christmas because we were slacking in the date department. We've got older kids who can take care of the younger kids, but we were slacking in the date department and constantly making excuses. So some Saturday nights, our date might just be closing the bedroom door, turning a movie on, or, turning Amazon Prime on in our bedroom and staying in and telling the older ones, just keep them out.
Yeah.
We need a break.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
But scheduling your dates too, because you can always find excuses, but give up the excuses.
Yeah, because this is a priority. One thing that we're trying, my husband and I, and, I'll report back on if it's working or not, is also these monthly dates. And what we have given ourselves as a challenge is that once a month, at least, just once a month, we are going to do some wacky, weird course. Like maybe it's a cooking class, maybe it's a kombucha brewing class, maybe it's volunteering to pick up trash at a local wildlife park, or just something completely ridiculous that we would never do normally, as just a way for us to connect. And I think, if you have a spouse or a partner, especially if you're a business owner, the other person feels like they are second fiddle, don't they? Right? Because you are hyper-focused in on your business. And it's important to remember to cultivate that relationship. So doing these crazy, wacky classes or anything, the bottom line of it is simply A, bringing some fun back in our life, and B, it's a shared experience. Because sometimes we forget, even though we live together, you can fall into the trap of being really great roommates and not, loving, intimate partners.
Yeah. There was a time when he told me he was seeing more the back of my head than my face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be having an affair on him with my business.
No.
And while it might feel like it, my business does feel like my sixth child, but it should never take priority over the other five.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's what's hard about being a business owner in this modern day age, is that there is a lot of hype, a lot about the hustle, right? A lot about the grind and do this and do that, blah, 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 but then I don't know where's the fine line where enough is enough, right? Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. I also want to recommend that you block out that time in your day, every single day. That's even for simple things like taking a shower, spending time with your kids. I have started blocking out 5 to 8 o'clock every night. That is only my kids.
Yeah.
And it even shows me a pop-up notification on my phone. Little's time. so that I'm not perfect though. We have to give ourselves grace because we're not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is little time and I shouldn't be responding to emails. And I don't even look at emails on my phone.
Yeah. And we've stopped having electronics at the dinner table. Like that's really important to us as well. So I grew up in the 80s where we ate on TV dinners and we watched the A-Team and, you know, like that is so ingrained into my culture and who I am. So it was hard at first of like, we're not going to have the TV on, like, or we're not going to have phones at the table. But, you know, it makes a significant difference when you are present with your children. You can make eye contact. You can ask questions. I mean, we did an episode on dinner time rituals, you know, how to ask simple questions to build your kids up and help them grow with emotional intelligence, all of that. So it sounds like to me to cultivate the life that you actually want to live is also just, again, building in those boundaries, pre-scheduling the self-care for yourself, all of that. Yeah.
Start saying yes to you.
Yes, that's the bottom line, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Kim, I want to wrap up. Sadly, I could talk to you for days on this topic in particular because I think it's so important. But we asked a few questions that we ask of all guests that come on to the podcast. But again, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom here today. Tell us, what is one really good book or maybe a blog that you're reading these days that is super inspiring to you or even maybe challenging and poking at you a bit right now?
It's both challenging and inspiring me. Lingo by Jeffrey Shaw.
Okay.
And it's developing the voice that your ideal customers and clients need to hear. That's not the official subtitle. I apologize, but Lingo by Jeffrey Shaw.
Okay.
And it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
I need my highlighter and my pen. I read physical books.
Yeah.
Because I read right before bed.
Yeah.
So if I don't have my highlighter, I'm in trouble. I go, yeah.
Yeah, good. We'll definitely put a link in the show notes to that book down below. And you mentioned the Focuster app earlier, but is there any other good apps or things that you're using right now in your life that's really helping you simplify or automate?
My 3 favorite tools besides that are Infusionsoft, Tailwind for Instagram and Pinterest, and Meet Edgar. So Tailwind is the scheduler that you can use for Instagram and Pinterest. Is that correct? Yes.
And then
so I'll spend time finding pins and scheduling them out for the next month, and it takes me maybe a couple hours. Usually I'll do it like on a Saturday night watching a movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not on date Saturday nights, but you know.
Yes. Yeah.
But then I'm only on Pinterest. I know this isn't the ideal social media strategy, but that way I'm not spending all week repinning.
100%. Well, and I think at some point you just have to say no, right? Again, enough is enough. Focus on maybe one social media account and do it really, really well. And then automate the other ones, right? And run it as a test. Do this one for 30 days and then do this one for 30 days. But, you know, automate the other ones while it's away. Yeah, great. And then Meet Edgar is a scheduler for social media like Facebook and all of those guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, who is maybe one person that you know in your circle that you think we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast and why?
Stephanie Roberts.
Okay.
From Audacious Mama podcast.
Interesting. Tell me about Stephanie. What does she do?
Stephanie is, right now, she's really about bringing out your authentic voice on social media and repurposing content. A lot of us, and this helps with being the bonsai, a lot of us think that we always need to be developing new content, but we already have so much out there. So repurpose what you have and you're going to save so much time.
Yeah. And, you know, it's shocking when you hear the stats of like literally only 2% of your audience on Facebook is actually seeing your stuff, your Facebook business page. Right. 2%, folks. Yes. Yep. Automate, regurgitate. Like, there's no reason why you need to create brand new content for sure. That's great. Well, we'll definitely reach out to Stephanie and get her on the podcast. So for us, gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, Kim, what are you grateful for right now in your life?
Incredible friends and opportunities. When I started opening up, I got a lot closer to a lot of people I had never met before. Mm-hmm. And those people are constantly providing new opportunities my way. I have speaking gigs now and podcasting opportunities like this.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I learned the lesson of being transparent and authentic. And I'm grateful for the amazing people who are accepting me as I am, including my husband and you, Mary, and just, yeah.
Yeah. And, it's okay. It's okay to show your true self. It's okay to say, you know what? I struggle with depression and anxiety and I don't have my ish together all the time. So, it's okay to say that, because I think 9 times, I dare say 99 times out of 100, the person that you reflect back is going to say, hey girl, I feel that.
Yeah, exactly.
There, so it's okay to do that. We are super excited to read your forthcoming book, Chronic Idea Disorder. So when it comes out, please, please, please reach out to us and let us know where we can find it. And don't forget, you guys, that she is the host of the Positive Productivity podcast. I'll put a link down below for you guys to be able to click on that and have a listen as well there. And I want to make mention, you are hosting these clinics, right? So Chronic Idea Disorder clinics. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
I want to empower entrepreneurs to get those ideas settled, get those ideas launched to the world. So the clinics are, I work with guests. I'm going to call everybody guests for two sessions before a clinic to figure out which one idea they're going to work on building.
Yeah.
At the 3-day clinic. And then it's a live or virtual clinic where that one idea is finally finished. This is an all-day clinic. It's an 8-hour a day for 3 days. Get it done. Get it out to the world. But then you're going to have to do the maintenance on the back end.
Yeah.
But no more excuses.
Yeah.
But, in 3 days, focusing on one idea, you can accomplish so much.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to that laser focus. So taking that one idea that you've got kind of sitting in your back files, and you're going to help them in a 3-day process to flesh it out, create the structure for it, and help them launch it. So the website is thekimsutton.com/clinic if you guys want to click on that to learn more. And Kim also does positive productivity private coaching for people. So make sure to go to her website and check that out if you've been inspired by what we talk about today. So Kim, I want to end on this one final question. We've gone through we've covered a lot of ground in today's episode. And, I think, again, just being open and saying, I've been there too, in what you've experienced. If there's somebody out there that's listening and hearing what you're saying and talking about your story of, gosh, I'm only sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night, and, I'm hitting the spiral, and things are starting to get really scary, and, anxiety is rising and depression is starting to take over. Is there something that you could whisper into her ear right now that will encourage her to pull herself out of the muck? What would you say to her?
Somebody is listening. So don't be afraid to even just start whispering what you are going through.
Yeah.
Somebody's listening. You're not alone.
Yeah. Kim, thank you so much for being on the Simplifiers podcast today. And again, you can check out all of her things online by going to thekimsutton.com as her website. And you're on Facebook at Kim Sutton Official. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much.